Good Erev Shabbos, everybody. Today we're continuing with the laws of Rechilus. We're on Klal Tes, Halacha Yud Gimel, which is 9:13. And the topic we've been discussing the past several days is if someone buys something in a store and you believe he got cheated. You believe that the store owner ripped him off. So in what cases are you allowed to share that information? So I encourage you to listen to yesterday's class, which was number 92, I believe. So we mentioned that if you have 5 conditions and there is possible recourse for the individual to return the item and to get his money back through a rabbinical court, then you're allowed to tell him when you have those 5 conditions. Now we're going to continue. What if he's the type of guy that if you tell him that he was cheated, he's not going to go to court. He's going to go and he's going to go steal back from the owner of the store who cheated him. What can you do then? And I just want to mention that the beginning, what we're going to learn in the cases, in the spoiler alert, it's prohibited. If he's the type of person who's going to go and just he really got cheated. He was definitely, overcharged, and halachically the store owner did the right thing. But he's going to go to the store and he's going to, either take the money out of the register or do bad stuff to the guy and take matters into his own hands. In the end of the day, that's prohibited. But we're going to learn that it might not have the prohibition of Lashon Hara to reveal to this person he was cheated, but there will be other prohibitions of Lifnei Iver, of causing a stumbling block. Because in most situations, if you feel you were cheated, you can't just go in and take someone's money, even if you're right. You have to go through the process of a bezdin in a rabbinical court. So let's get right into it. Kol zeh dibarnu, im hu maker lahamis'ana b'tivo shekasher yivadu lo ha'emes ma'ona lo yasa lo shum davar me'atzmo rak yitva'enu lebezdin v'yasa al pi din Torah. Everything which we discussed to be allowed to mention to someone that he was cheated, that he was overcharged, you're only allowed to do that, again, when you have the 5 conditions, and for those 5 conditions, please refer to yesterday's class, when the person's going to go and get his money out through a rabbinical court. Aval, im makiru bativo, shekasher yivadalo mizeh yasedin la'atzmo. But if you realize that this is the type of person, he's not going to go to court, he's going to take matters into his own hands. Veit vasanu, or sheyachzer lo aschera, or he's going to take something from the guy, or he's gonna forcibly return the object, or he's gonna return it. Or he's just not gonna pay the money he owes to the store owner. Again, this is a case where they shook on it, they made a deal, and he was overcharged. Right? To avoid the prohibition of Lashon Hara, you need 3 more conditions. So in addition to the 5 conditions we mentioned yesterday, you need 3 more conditions. Now again, this is not allowed. This is just, we're learning that there's 2 prohibitions here. There's a prohibition of Lashon Hara, of evil speech, and a prohibition of Lifnei Iver. So there's always a prohibition of Lifnei Iver. We're just discussing perhaps that there are some times that there is not a prohibition of Lashon Hara. And again, this is what Torah learning is that we go through an action and we have to analyze, well, how many prohibitions are associated with it in different ways, and what are everything that could come out of this action. So to avoid just the prohibition of Lashon Hara, what would you need? Yadua inyan zeh shelo na, dahanu ma shehona asolem lemesaprim atzmam, lo ken im shamu pi acherim sheishona b'mekach hazeh asurim lomalo. It has to be that you knew yourself that this person was overcharged, and you know the value of the item, and you didn't just hear it from others. You didn't hear that this guy was overcharged. You actually knew it. Beis, Shia Hamasaprim Shnaim, you need 2 people. Now the reason is because in rabbinical court, for someone to act, for Bezdin, the rabbinical court, to issue a ruling, they need to have testimony from 2 people. Gimel, Shelo Yisoviv Hezek Lahama'ana al Pitiburim Yosem Rikfiadin Sheyotze al Yadim Bebezdin. Avolim Akiro, as Tivo Shel Hamisana Sheyavse Lama'ana Yosem Rikfiadin, Velo Yitzais Dina Achakach, Lama'ana also Legalos Lebechol Gavna. And it has to be that the only thing that's going to befall the owner of the store is that he's going to have to pay whatever a rabbinical court would impose. But if something bad is going to happen to him, worse than what a rabbinical court would do, meaning you're going to tell this guy that he was cheated and now he's going to go into the store with a baseball bat and start breaking all the guy's merchandise, then there's also a prohibition of Lashon Hara. So again, that was all in theory, but practically, there's one more line. And with the 5 conditions that we mentioned yesterday, Yesh b'sach hakol shmona pratim. There are 8 conditions. Ve'enu matzoi sheyiskabsenu kulam. It's very unlikely you're going to have all 8 conditions. Imiskabsu enu moel rak linatzol ma'etzem dibur aser. And even if you have all 8 conditions, that only saves you from the prohibition of lashon hara. Aval al kol panim and messiah de over avera lo nafik. But by helping to violate, but you are nevertheless still violating the prohibition of helping someone commit a sin. Because it's forbidden for this individual, this customer, to act on the information you told him. Afilu im sipur lo harbe anashim. Kol zman shelo yidu alav bezin v'yirshu bezin lasos kain k'mavur le'el v'chlavav siftes v'yud al kain yesh lizar ma'od melagalos l'ish shetivu lasos din ba'atzmo bli rishos mebezin v'ayin le'el b'sivvav. In Judaism, we do not believe in vigilantism. So even if 100 people were to tell him that he was cheated, if you know that this is the type of guy that's not going to go to court and go to Judge Judy or Judge Joe Brown or the People's Court, or I mean a Bezdin, not a secular court, he's not going to go to a Bezdin, and he's going to take matters into his own hands and do something rash, then you're not allowed to tell him, even if you have 100 people who agree. So we see that there are many, many details of being able to tell someone if he was cheated in a business transaction. And this is true with all different types of lashon hara. Before one says something negative about someone, one has to really, really weigh if he meets all of the halachic conditions to be able to share that information. And it's very important because sometimes it's a mitzvah to share. You have to help someone who's in trouble. But on the other hand, it could be a big sin if you don't have all the conditions, if it's not in the proper context. And that's what the Chavetz Chaim is going to write now. Ve'ata achi rogam ra ech sheba'avonos harabim kama v'kama anashim nichshalim bazeh ma'od. See how many people in our great sins make a mistake in this. Shekasher echad lekech schera mechanus v'kana oso b'mashicha kedin umara lechavero im shav ha'mekach sheshilem o lo dai she'enu meshamcho Odhu meganeu loimer ki rima oscha ma'od ve'enu medaktek alatzmo b'shas ma'isa leida hetiv im meko kfi ma shehi nimkeres ata b'shuk. How often does it happen where somebody buys something in a store, he shows his friend, and his friend says, "Oh, you got ripped off." And he says he got ripped off before he knows what the current value is in the store. Because very often the price changes, the price fluctuates, because you got a cheaper price a week ago. It doesn't mean that's the price today. And you don't know how much this guy, if he was, let's say he was overcharged, you don't know how much he was overcharged, because like we mentioned, a person can only return an object if he was overcharged more than a sixth. That's the halacha. Im yesh bo shirona al pidin tari v'gam masei honoso, and we don't know when he necessarily bought the item. Because if someone buys an item a long time ago and now he's claiming he's overcharged, 2 months from now, he's got no recourse. Maybe he went over that time that it takes to show a merchant or a relative. So therefore there's absolutely no purpose for you to tell an individual that he got cheated. Right? Very often the Chavetz Chaim is saying that very often someone buys something from the store and maybe he got ripped off a little bit, but there's no practical purpose of you sharing that information with him. There's nothing he can do about it. And very often what happens is, it's because of hatred the person says it. He has something against that particular store. And very often it can become realized later that the guy actually paid the proper amount for his item. And very often, also what could happen is that you could cause a great loss to the store owner. Because he'll incite the customer by saying, you should return that item. And you should go demand your money back. Go take your money back from him. And if you're embarrassed to do it, you should send someone to do it for you. And if he doesn't want to take back your return, you know what you should do? You should just stop payment. Cancel the credit card payment. Or what you owe or what you already paid. And very often, if the customer does this, he's stealing. You're not allowed to just cancel payment on something you agreed to pay for. And when he brings the item back to return it to the store owner, and the store owner doesn't want to take it back, He says, what do you mean? I'm not going to take it back. You're causing me to lose out. Shelo kedin Torah, b'imli demariva. They're going to come to a fight, and they're going to start abusing each other. See what evil this person who spoke Lashon Hara caused. He violated the prohibition of spreading evil speech. If you don't have all the conditions like we mentioned. He violated the prohibition of Lashon Hara. He violated the prohibition of causing someone to sin. Because he advised someone to return an item which halachically he's not allowed to do. Or shar hefsedim, or other losses which could come. And now he's causing two people to have a fight with each other, and he's causing the prohibition of not oppressing someone with words to be violated. And many other negative prohibitions that come about through this fight. Right, Sulaimar. Rahman al-Islam. Vimkain, mama od roy li zayir shlo li hisarv beinayim ke'elu im lo she'yizbon and hated b'chol ma she'kasavnu le'el v'azi Hashem ba'ozer shlo yavu shumich shal yadu. So he says, therefore, a person should not tell someone that the item which he purchased, he got ripped off unless he carefully contemplates that he has all the 5 conditions and that it is the correct thing to share that information. So we see what the Chavetz Chaim writes. What happens if a person isn't careful when he speaks Lashon Hara, that right away you tell someone that he was cheated. He was cheated at an item he bought. The guy's going to go back and try to return the item. And if the guy doesn't want to take it, they're going to get into a fight. And then he's going to stop payment. And all of these negative prohibitions are violated when really he had no halachic right to return the item. So the moral is that we have to be very careful in this area of halacha, just like we are in every area of halacha, every area of Jewish law. And before a negative speech leaves our mouths, we have to sit and contemplate, is it appropriate to share this information? Is there a purpose? Are we not exaggerating? And all of the other 5 conditions. And if you don't know the conditions, then consult a rabbi. That's what we're here for. And with that, hopefully everyone I wish everyone a beautiful, uplifting, and hopefully dry Shabbos.